Nihan, welcome again, students. I hope already from watching the first lecture on understanding food labels, you realize how important it is to have at least some basic information regarding the information on food labels. This is part 2 of that video, as there is more practical information that we need to learn. In this lecture, we will look at specific claims that food manufacturers can write on the food package. There are many of them, but I selected just a few that again might be useful. In addition, we will see how, using the information on the food label, we can identify certain products, such as whole grains, for example. Let's begin with labeling organic foods. Both plant as well as animal products can be designated as organic. However, certain criteria must be met in order for a food manufacturer to claim that a given product is organic. When it comes to plant foods, the designation organic cannot be applied if an ingredient in a product was genetically engineered, or another term for genetically engineering is genetically modified. Such products could not have been treated with pesticides. Also, synthetic fertilizers cannot be used in such products. Further, such products cannot be treated with ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation is used to treat foods in order to kill any type of microbes. Further, these products could not have been fertilized also with sewage sludge. When it comes to meat, poultry, eggs, and dairy, the criteria is a little bit different. And so, in this case scenario, the animals from which the given meat or eggs or dairy product come from could not have been treated with antibiotics or hormones. Antibiotics and hormones are very often given to animals, especially in what we call confined or concentrated animal feeding operations. These are large farms, if we can call them a farm, in which oftentimes thousands or tens or even hundreds of thousands of animals, such as chicken or poultry, are kept in very small proximity, and because of the conditions in which they are kept, they are being treated with antibiotics. Okay? Also, even if antibiotics are not given to these animals to treat any type of pathogens, it is well known that small doses of antibiotics actually promote growth. So the animals grow fast and quick. And so the farm owners actually save money on keeping these animals shorter and on giving them less food. Hormones are also given to these animals in order to promote growth. This is again why these animals grow to enormous sizes in a very short period of time. In the United States, and I believe in most of the countries, if not all of the countries, most meats, poultry, eggs, and dairy, as well as plant foods, are not organic. However, for farmers who want to use this designation organic, they have to abide by these principles. Additionally, notice, organically grown and produced foods can include one of the following designations. Organic, if they contain at least 95% organic ingredients, and so some ingredients in a given product may not necessarily be organic, but we know that if we only see this designation organic, at least 95% of the ingredients meet the criteria that we discussed a moment ago. 100% organic if they contain entirely organic produced ingredients. Very seldom I see 100% organic on a food label. The vast majority of the time in grocery stores we can find foods/products that contain this designation organic. Okay? And then made with organic ingredients if they contain at least 70% organic ingredients. Lastly, some organic ingredients if the product contains less than 70% organic ingredients. The information on the food label is supposed to be practical, and it is supposed to help consumers to find products that they are interested in. And so I'm going to give you a few examples of how we can utilize this information in grocery stores. How to recognize whole grain products using information on food labels. In the United States, grain products can include any of the following designations: 100% wheat, organic, stone ground, multigrain, and so on. You see the others. Which of these are whole grains? Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear your answers, but let's consider a few here. But let's consider a few of these terms. 100% wheat means that this product contains nothing but wheat. Okay? It doesn't contain barley, it doesn't contain oats, it doesn't contain anything else. It only contains wheat. This term does not give us any idea whether we are talking about whole grain wheat, refined wheat, enriched wheat, what kind of wheat. Organic does not necessarily mean that it is a whole grain product. It simply means that the grains were not treated with, for example, pesticides, okay? And that the grains meet any of the other criteria we listed a moment ago. Multigrain means that the product contains more than one type of grain. So you have a teaspoon of wheat, you have a teaspoon of rye, you have a teaspoon of buckwheat, you have a teaspoon of quinoa, and so on and so on. Do we know how much of this is whole quinoa, whole wheat, whole oats? We do not. Okay, so multigrain only means different types of grain. In reality, none of these terms here indicate whole grains. In reality, none of these terms indicate whether or not a given product is whole grain or not. And so let's go back to this question. How do we recognize from the information on the food label whether a given product is a whole grain product, or at least whether a bulk of what is in that product is made of whole grain product? It is actually very simple. Each food item made of multiple ingredients must include this section called ingredients, in which all of the ingredients must be listed. If the first item listed is a grain, and if it says whole grain, or simply whole wheat, or whole oats, whole barley, whole rye, whole buckwheat, and so on, this term or this word whole indicate that it is an unrefined whole grain product. Okay? So we are looking at the first ingredient, and we are looking for this term whole in the food label in the ingredient section. How to recognize that a product contains trans fatty acids using information on food label? Well, later in this semester you will learn that trans fatty acids were banned actually in the United States. Okay? Later on in this course you will learn what trans fatty acids are. Further, you will learn also that trans fatty acids that are artificially made and added to food in the process of making whatever product in the United States and in Canada, it is my understanding, have been banned. However, they are not banned in many other countries. Now, I don't know all the principles of labeling trans fatty acids in other countries. I am including in this lecture information how consumers in the United States were able to recognize whether a given product sold in American grocery stores contained artificially made trans fatty acids. Okay, it just may be useful in case other countries adopt the principles. I know that in many other countries, trans fatty acids actually must be labeled. And so they may actually just follow the same labeling rules that we had in the United States. So first of all, notice that trans fat, again, in some countries have to be listed on a food label. This was the case in the United States. Furthermore, in the United States, prior to banning the artificially made trans fatty acids, food manufacturers could have stated on the food label that the product contains 0 grams of trans fats if per serving less than 0.5 of a gram of trans fats was included in the product. This was a loophole in this labeling law. Furthermore, when reading the ingredients in the ingredients section, every time we saw a term hydrogenated and, most importantly, partially hydrogenated, as well as shortenings, for example, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, we knew that this product contained trans fatty acids, even though it stated that it contains 0 grams of trans fats. Notice this is an example of a food label, trans fat 0 grams, and yet partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil. Again, this partially hydrogenated means that it contains trans fats. Again, I'm not sure if this applies to the labeling laws in other countries. This is how it used to be in the United States. And with that, I'm going to finish the second lecture on understanding food labels. If you have any questions, do send them to me. Thank you.